I'm Lisa Taylor, president of Challenge Factory. Hidden Talent is a Challenge Factory podcast. Challenge Factory is grateful for the support of Veterans Affairs Canada through the Veteran and Family Wellbeing Fund.
Challenge Factory believes you should meet the changing world of work head on and take control of your future. Is your business prepared for the future of work? Well, this podcast series, along with the Challenge Factory Masterclass in Hiring and our Canadian Guide to Hiring Veterans, will help you do just that. Enjoy the show.
When we created the mission for this podcast to demystify and uncover the hidden talent in Canada's military veteran community and make it easier for small business owners to make great hires, the notion of time kept coming up. Suffice to say, our examination of hidden talent would not be complete if we didn't probe further into time. Time spent, lost, or created can mean different things along the way. I'm Erin Trafford, and let's start today by unpacking these beliefs and concepts around how much time it should take to make a good hire, what that means for the new employee who's transitioning into a new job, and what that means for you, the hiring manager, who's often taking time away from regular duties to devote to the search for the right candidate. As our small business owner, Sarah Dunkley, explains, for her, time is very much money. But when it comes to investing time in the hiring process, it quickly also becomes associated with this notion of risk.
I can spend a lot of money having the wrong candidate in the wrong role, training them for a very long time, and then they move to another position or they leave the company because it's not a good fit, right? So I can invest a year in time and salary and effort into the wrong candidate, which is an extremely high cost for my business.
Time equals money equals time. But Lisa Taylor says there's also a relationship dynamic at play here, where pop culture would have us believe in gotcha job interviews, where the organization is out to make the candidate trip up. But the reality is, by the time the interview happens, both parties are actually hoping it'll flourish into gainful and meaningful employment.
When someone walks into the door for an interview, the person behind the table that's doing the interview so desperately wants that person to be the perfect person.
But Lisa says what ends up happening is a combination of the following. The employer casts a wide net on job boards, resulting in a pile of resumes that don't often match the skill set they truly need or want for the job opening they have. Then they spend precious time weeding through that heap and feel frustrated by the process. Or, as Janine Harris, our videography company owner, admits, lack thereof.
Yeah, there was no structure to my hiring process. Zero structure to my hiring process. And to this day, there's still zero structure to my hiring process, which I recognize is a problem.
On the other side, the veteran employee side of things, there's another combination of factors eating up time and resources, namely that there's no centralized system to capture information or availability of new transitioning talent, which makes it incredibly challenging to match a veteran with a suitable available job. Even Sarah Dunkley, who is married to a retired military reservist, says if she actively wanted to hire a veteran, A, she wouldn't know where to begin that search, and B, if she did, she still fears it would take up too much of her time.
And I wouldn't even know where to begin. I mean, I'm going to pick up the phone and call, the regiments in Toronto. Like, how am I even going to land at the right person's desk to be able to say, I want to post a job at your regiment? And they may not even do that. So I think it's, without some kind of job board or some kind of organized way of doing this for small and medium-sized organizations, it would really create a massive challenge to small businesses to find these candidates.
And the lack of process also trickles down to the transitioning veteran, who can easily find him or herself in a who do you know situation, where job prospects are only as strong as your network.
The biggest thing I found was an employer who previously had employed a veteran, they would go after veterans. It's basically the employer hired a veteran before, and then they want to hire another veteran because this veteran was successful.
Lisa says this exact scenario, the veteran talent hidden in plain sight, the time-strapped employer, like two ships passing in the night, is precisely one of the reasons why her company, Challenge Factory, decided to do more research on how to bridge this gap.
So much of the energy and resources has been going into helping veterans tell their story, write their resumes, become prepared so that they can step into the job market. That's the labor supply side of the equation. But nothing had been done to break down the barriers of bias and of assumptions that are made, or even just the fact that this whole population is invisible to employers. Nothing had been done on that demand side of the equation. And you can get people all dressed up and ready for job interviews and completely ready to tell their story. And there is a lot of activity, both within the Canadian Armed Forces as well as within Veterans Affairs Canada, that have recognized that this matching is something that needs to be focused on, and they are moving forward with making things incrementally better year over year over year. But progress is slow and small business moves quickly.
Maybe it's a job fair or a job board. But as we've already discussed, those things won't work if small business owners and managers don't know the veteran talent pool exists. To put it plainly, who would take the time to go to a job fair for people you don't truly believe are the right fit for your company? So then, maybe it's just an increased awareness within your organization of how your current hiring practices can be improved. Janine Harris says she's starting to see how this shift in mindset could help her grow her company.
And the more I'm thinking about it, the more connected I think this would be. Like, it would be so smart if there was a way to bring them together. And even talking about that similarity for entrepreneurs. And I'm talking up to 50 people, right? Like that small, medium-sized organization where, versatility and thinking on your feet and seeing the next opportunity and seeing beyond what is obvious. Those are all skills that somebody who may be entrenched in a corporate environment may not, my perspective only, but they may not see that because it is boxed. The military, that's a great opportunity to bring entrepreneurs and vets together to talk about those challenges from those two lenses. I think that would be really neat.
But here's the twist. It seems all agree that even if there was a simpler way to match veterans and employers, there would still be a need to find common ground on communicating expectations and for establishing how to define success for both the organization and the veteran.
I think that what a veteran would expect is that if there's a checklist, so you're saying, here's your onboarding checklist, we're going to go through the checklist. If at the end of the day, he hasn't checked all those checks, he's going to start to wonder, why haven't I done this? Why haven't I sat down with this person?
Recall, for veterans like Chris, they're focused on service and mission, how to show up and do the best job possible to achieve the objective, which means those expectations need to be crystal clear from the get-go.
So I just think to make sure that whatever onboarding process you're doing, don't make it so big that you're not going to be able to achieve the things that you're saying you're going to achieve. Because to the veteran, that's a failure day one. So he goes in day one, here's your checklist, here's all the things I need you to do in day one. Maybe he doesn't have time to do all the things. The hiring, the guy who's going to be his actual manager takes him out for lunch for an hour. They chat. So now he's looking at day one. Oh my God, I only did 50% of the things that I was supposed to do. What am I going to do? And then he's already thinking he's behind the ball.
But for any small or medium-sized business owner, employee orientation is often not a very structured process. For example, Sarah says there isn't always a clear or formalized reporting structure, which she now sees could be confusing for a person who's spent most of their career in a military role.
You are in a very structured environment in terms of reporting and who reports to you, and things are very formalized. Like, that's the one thing that I have noticed about the military culture is it's extremely formal. And then you come to a small and medium-sized organization like mine, and I can definitely agree with you. The differences are quite unbelievable, right? Like, most small and medium-sized organizations are completely informal and, maybe not super structured.
Not super structured, kind of informal, not exactly aligned with military precision and a clear chain of command. This is where both Chris and Lisa suggest that in cases where the process might not be formalized or centralized, refocusing on the culture of small business, which is really about people and relationships, can make all the difference.
I think just to communicate with the person that, hey, you're doing a good job, or I need you to do this better, and just continue to encourage that person to pull the most amount out of that person to be to fulfill the role that you need them to be, and then to be the best that they can be in that role, and then to excel and move on further.
Sometimes when we're talking about these things, whether it's onboarding or performance reviews or any of these kind of formal processes of managing a workforce, small business owners will say, we don't have time for that. But I disagree. The people are at the heart of the business. And if you make things better in the context of putting in place steps so that these kinds of things are more predictable and more aligned to the goals and the mission of your business, you'll make things better not just for the veteran employee that you've hired, but for all of your employees. All of a sudden, it'll become much easier to recruit people because people will want to work in your organization because objectives are clear. They feel like they're doing a great job. They know what's expected of them. That's just good for employees generally, never mind veterans.
Which brings us to our next line of inquiry. We've talked about identifying the talent, communicating experience and skills, and even starting to break down some of the myths and requirements to job hunting, searching, and onboarding new hires. But what about performance on the job? One of the things we've heard from our small business owners is, in a shortened phrase, fear of making the wrong hire, fear of high turnover, which boils down to trust, which is mission critical.
Oh, absolutely. In the military, you would trust your team leaders to surround you with equal people with the same drive.
In our next episode of Hidden Talent, we'll look at the concept of trust and performance and how it plays a role in leveraging the hidden talent in Canada's military veteran population. Now that you've listened to our show and have a sense of the depth of the challenges and the potential solutions for hidden talent, we invite you to enroll in the masterclass for employer-tested ways to tap into the hidden talent pool of Canada's veterans. Find out more and sign up by visiting centerforcareerinnovation.ca at the link in the show notes. Reach out to the team at Challenge Factory with your thoughts, ideas, and feedback, especially if you're a small business or military veteran. This podcast is produced by Story Studio Network.